Autism is a topic most people don't want to discuss. And for reasons I can't fully appreciate, a lot of people are afraid of it. People are about as interested in talking about autism as they are in teenage sex. Our son was born in 1996. In his preschool testing, he received low marks for failing to draw a face on his self-portrait and for listing his sister as his best friend. Yes, that was a wrong answer. In kindergarten, his teacher helped us connect the dots to a series of disparate behaviors that totaled a diagnosis, a form of autism called PDD-NOS, which really translates to, we're not quite sure what to do with this one. In the late 90s, there weren't a lot of resources for parents out there, at least in our town, but I did find a support group, so I went to it. And for reasons that I'll explain over the next few minutes, I left after the first day. It didn't work. Now, when people do want to talk about autism, what I find is that they always give me the same narrative. They'll say, so-and-so has a diagnosis, and then right away they launch into how the mother has thrown herself into the job of fighting this terrible affliction that has affected their family. And I'm supposed to be impressed and inspired by her, and she's a tireless warrior mom. And they always look at me like, are you a tireless warrior mom? Now, I don't judge any moms. And I find, though, that I do judge the people who tell these stories because they think they're raising autism awareness. And what I also find is they're usually very disappointed in me because my story isn't sad enough. And it's not. And so so for reasons that as I've told, either both online or in-person support groups, I just haven't gone. I'm glad they work for other people. I'm glad people find support in them, but they haven't worked for me. First of all, they have a hard time finding what's funny about autism. And there is some funny stuff. For example, when our son was young, we realized, and my first problem with these groups is I feel like an imposter because our situation just isn't that tragic. Our son has not had many of the challenges that these folks have. But also, it's kind of funny. And one of the funny things that we discovered when our son was young was that he doesn't pick up on the visual cues that most kids use to figure out what are the naughty words. So, in a car ride with a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old, we sat there saying, you can't say fuck, you can't say shit, you can't say damn. That was funny. And it's true. And finally, though, I can't sit in a circle and complain about the lack of answers because I'm pretty grateful for what we have. We don't have all the answers, but we have a good start. And we have a lot more than my parents had in 1961. My sister had a difficult birth. The umbilical cord was wrapped around her neck. As a result, she had a brain injury that was not properly diagnosed until she was 40 years old, and my parents had been dead by then. So, no answer is a lot worse than a partial answer. Meanwhile, you can go to a Hallmark store and transition. You can go to any Hallmark store in the country and you'll see this display of these very popular figurines. People buy them all seasons, all sizes. And what do they have in common? No face. And I always wonder, did that artist fail her preschool screening test? But the thing that gets me is our conversation about autism is so limited that all we can talk about is tireless warrior moms. And it would be inappropriate for me to email this lady and say, hey, love the autism in your work. So our story isn't tragic. Our son is in engineering at the University of Minnesota. And by his own words, he has not chosen the easy path. He's chosen the path of his choosing. And when you have a kid like that, you can't wallow in frustration. So what I do focus on is every moment I get to see the world through his eyes. I focus on the gratitude I have for all the people who have helped us along the way. And of course, I find joy in the funny that autism brings. Thank you so much.